This is a deeper listen from KEXP, the show we talk with musicians about the thoughts and experiences that shape their music. I'm Emily Fox. And today, we're talking with the English electronic duo Maribou State. They just released a new album on January 31st, and KEXP's Tia Ho talked with the band about the hardships they faced during the recording process and how it's all reflected in their most personal album to date.
Before we talk about this latest release, I have to mention Maribou State's second album, Kingdoms in Color. It was released to critical reception in 2018. The UK duo, which brings together Chris Davids and Liam Ivory, pushed the down-tempo electronic they'd established in their debut to new heights. Kingdoms in Color was praised as one of the best releases of the year, but then they went dark. What followed was an unplanned 6-year hiatus. It wouldn't be until 2024 that Chris Davids would reveal he'd been diagnosed with a rare brain condition in 2022 called Chiari malformation. While recording their anticipated third album, Chris was experiencing debilitating headaches, insomnia, and declining mental health. It led him to the difficult decision to undergo brain surgery in November 2023. Through it all, Chris and Liam continued creating, collaborating, and recording. Music was a boon for them through Chris's surgery and slow recovery, which is reflected lyrically in their new album.
I do that for you, do that for you, and if your world's breaking, I do that for you, and if your world's breaking, you never think of yourself, even if your world's breaking, do that for you, oh, do that for you.
Maribou State has now returned from their 6-year break with their latest album, Hallucinating Love. The album delivers on their signature downtempo electronic with a host of collaborations, including a few tracks with longtime collaborator Holly Walker, who fans will recognize from the previous 2 records. The duo also pays homage to British dance music, with up-tempo songs inspired by jungle, trance, IDM, and other UK scenes. But for all the dancier cuts, the album offers slower moments where the weight of what they'd overcome really shines through. Between these 2 emotional axes, the duo meet us with their most personal album to date. While in New York for a DJ set celebrating the release of their first single off this album, I met up with Chris and Liam at their hotel in Brooklyn to chat about their last 6 years, their favorite samples on the new album, and the personal journeys that inform the music.
Cool. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan, really. I meant it when I said that Kingdoms of Color is still my favorite record from that year. And
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that means a
truly
lot.
mean it. Yeah. Well, okay, that was 6 years ago. What have you been doing since Kingdoms of Color?
So yeah, we had our last show from Kings in Color at like the end of 2019, and then we started writing this new album at the beginning of 2020. Then obviously the pandemic happened, and me and Liam were living quite far apart from each other, so we ended up just putting the album on ice for a little bit. Took a bit of time off. There's been just some difficult periods that have informed the way that the album sounds. So a lot of it is just spent sort of like trying to overcome these different hurdles and write the record.
Totally.
And that's about it.
What have you been doing like for fun in the last 6 years? Has fun been part of it?
Yeah, no, it has. Good question. Obviously, in the first period, like we were kind of transitioning from being on tour and coming back to normal life, which is always a bit jarring. You know, it's such a big change in environment, and we were quite lucky because we'd planned on stopping touring anyway at the end of 2019. But yeah, for the 2020, it was a difficult time for a lot of people.
But it's worth mentioning, like in that time, we we had a period where we'd had 6 months of just like, okay, let's not think about music at all. And during that time, we both ended up doing the most ridiculous stuff for like 6 months. Like I ended up starting Tai Chi for like a while and got into like fermenting. Like my whole kitchen was like full of like so many different fermented foods, and like you ended up, you probably did like about 10 different, like, Liam took up acting, ice hockey. Like we definitely.
That was more in this final year, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. Well, there was when I first started getting all like, so I started getting all these debilitating headaches like whilst we were writing the album, and it was at that point that we just ended up pressing pause, and we had like 6 months off just before you got married.
Yes.
The year before you got married. We've both grown a lot as people as well in that time. I think suffering can do that. It can't do it for everyone, but definitely there's certain times where you get pushed so hard that you have to grow from it. So yeah, I think it's been really beneficial.
Wow. Well, I know that Hallucinating Love departs from Kingdoms in a number of ways, but one of the main ways is that you guys have decided to sort of step out of the shadows of the project and insert more of yourselves into this new record, which is super cool. I love seeing it as a fan. And like, I know, Chris, you sing for the first time, right, in Echoes, which is amazing.
Somebody told me she's not afraid to lie. Told me 1,000 times.
Was that like a conscious decision to insert more of yourselves into the record, or was that something that came about organically?
That's a good question. I think it was definitely organic. There was never any moment that we kind of sat down and decided that was the approach we wanted to take. I think, like Chris was saying, there was a lot of self-growth during the last few years. Both of us individually working on ourselves, and we were both seeing therapists, and we were both doing a lot of like mindfulness and meditation, and just on these journeys of like really bettering ourselves and kind of working on the difficulties that we were facing. And I think from that came this kind of confidence, I guess, in ourselves, and confidence in our relationship, and confidence in our musical heritage and the project. And
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listening to the record, you can really hear how personal it is. I also love that there, like, for all the dancier moments, there are moments of like real slowness. I'm thinking of like Passing Clouds, right? And how beautiful that song is. I'm also hearing a lot of like frustration and resilience and catharsis, and how those interplay throughout the record I find like so interesting, and it also resonates with me as a listener.
Get a break from it all. Can't do no more. Can't do no. Get a break from it all.
And I know you mentioned like the headaches. I know that there's like, you know, a part of the last few years has been dealing with a rare brain condition. Has music been an outlet during that experience?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of been the not the one and only, but it's been a massive saving grace in the whole thing. It's not been something that I've gone to and either of us have gone to and been like, oh, this is the safe space. You know, I feel so much better in this. It's been hard actually to write music in that when you're in pain, and it's been enjoyable, but it's also been really difficult. But it's definitely been the thing that's just kept the momentum and the motivation going.
gives you purpose. Like,
Yeah.
it keeps you on track, gives you a focus.
Totally.
Which you can feel so rudderless when mental and physical health is not where it needs to be for yourself. And I think, like Chris said, it was really challenging, but week on week it gave us a reason to like pick ourselves up, get out of the room, you know, get into the studio, work on stuff, be creative, collaborate with people, be around other people. It kind of just gave you, like I said, a reason to just push on and like get through it. And then in the end, that kind of was probably one of the main reasons that kind of pulled us through the dark time.
Yeah.
I also know that you love like sampling as well. And so do you have a favorite sample on the forthcoming record?
There's the vocal actually. There's a vocal on a track called I Remember that was a cover. Can you remember the name of the original?
No.
We didn't realise it was original until we were looking at the like clearing the publishing and like getting it all approved, and we found out that it was an old
like bluegrass
blues,
songs.
yeah, like an old bluegrass tune that we didn't realise, but it was covered by these guys in California, this duo.
Yeah.
That's probably, that's the sample that I really like.
Small sample. I think to the majority of people, they probably wouldn't even recognize it, but in Peace Talk, there's like a breakdown bit before the end, and it suddenly just switches to this weird like vocal, and just for like a few bars, and it's just like someone singing in like a venue space, and it's kind of all reversed. I really like that. It's so subtle, but it just like switches the whole space of the song. But yeah, it's not like a significant part.
It's not that I'm strange and only knowing looks can give you the thing you need. Why then take it easy?
I thought you were going to mention the singing in the concrete tunnel in Hungary.
Is that in it?
Yeah, that's in. This is quite a funny one. So there's a sample in two of the songs actually, which is kind of, I say it's more of a field recording. Thinking about it, it's one of those moments where we've captured something and then resampled it. But it was us and Holly and our bandmates Johnny and John Joe on tour in Hungary, I think it was, in Budapest. Drunk after one of the shows one night, just on our way back to our hotel, and there was all these construction pipes outside in the street, and there were these long concrete tubes, and we were all just basically shouting and singing at each other down the tubes, and that ended up on two of the tracks.
I think the specific point, and maybe I think it's in this, but it's our drummer Johnny clocks that the police are coming past, and like we're all just bent over down the sewage pipe, just shouting at each other, and he's like, "Wait, the police are coming!" And that's one of the parts that we sampled, but you can't hear what he's saying. It's all reverberated and stuff.
Sure.
Is there anything that you think that somebody should know, whether a new fan or an old fan, before listening to Hallucinating Love?
I feel like on this record, and this is unintentional, it kind of, more than the others, I think you can really get a sense of what it's about from the songs that are on there. And like, I don't know, it's like I said, it was unintentional. Music's obviously, like art is often a product of what you consume, right? And at the time we were going through a difficult period, and for whatever reason that came out in the music in a positive sense. And the album is very hopeful and the music is positive. And I guess I would have initially said, despite people knowing our story, I'd like them to know that like this music is really hopeful and it should feel really joyous and uplifting. But I feel like you get that from listening to it anyway. And I feel like you can sense what we were going through in the record, but you can feel the hopefulness and the togetherness of it, and you can feel that it's like supposed to lift you up and allow you to look forward to like brighter future times. So I think maybe it does say it itself within the record. I hope so. Yeah.
I would have to agree. Yeah,
Great,
definitely.
cool.
The joy comes through for sure. The catharsis through all the dance moments definitely do too. Dance was definitely like a big inspiration for both of you in this album. and like you were specifically paying homage to like the UK scene, IDM and trance and jungle. Do you guys have like essential favorites from those scenes that you were just like really called upon to honor, or just favorites in general that you love?
Yeah, in terms of like artists, going back to like when me and Liam first met, Aphex Twin was someone that Liam used to listen to from his brother, and I remember he showed us and me, and other friends at the school, and we were like, this is
Mental.
mental. So he would definitely be really, really high up there. And then bands like The Prodigy. Again, I remember being 18 years old, going to see them at Brixton Academy for the first time.
You get like the old Jungle Massive like CDs.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Without the sound, 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 without the sound.
And I suppose another one, I know it's not necessarily like dance, well it is kind of, but like the Streets' original Pirate Material was one of the biggest, most influential records, probably. So yeah, in fact, undoubtedly up there in the top 5 for both of us.
Has it come to this? Original pirate material. You're listening to the streets. Lock down your aerial. Has it come to this? Original pirate material. You're listening to the streets. Lock down your aerial. I'm just spitting.
That was Chris Davids and Liam Ivory of Maribou State speaking with KEXP's Tia Ho about their new album Hallucinating Love, which is out now. And that was a deeper listen. Before you go, please do me a huge favor. Subscribe to this podcast, rate it, and review it. I say it every time, but I would love to see a few more ratings, a few more reviews out there, just to help spread the word that this podcast exists and is worthy of other people's time. Word of mouth goes a long way. You can also help financially support this publicly funded podcast by giving $6 a month at kexp.org/deeper. And thanks for taking a deeper listen.